Hi, welcome to my channel Made by Maddie. I'm Maddie and I make things. Today, we're gonna be making cinnamon rolls with icing. So wash your hands, put on your apron, and let's get to work. All right, so we have our supplies out for our cinnamon rolls. We have sugar, all-purpose flour, cream cheese, butter, again, I always use salted, whole milk, yeast, baking powder, salt, and some of our tools. So normally I take 2 whole days to do my cinnamon rolls. One of the reasons why I like to let them rise overnight in the refrigerator is that I can just pop them in the oven in the morning and have fresh baked cinnamon rolls versus doing them in a day. It's gonna take you a lot longer. Maybe if you're doing a brunch and you're having it in the later morning, then that's totally fine. But I typically do 2 days. If you wanna do one, by all means, you can do that as well. All right, so let's get started. So in our large mixing bowl, we are going to whisk together warm milk. So we need 2 cups whole milk. And you can microwave this or put it on the stovetop, and you wanna bring it up to 100 to 110 degrees. If it is warmer than that, just go ahead and pull it out and let it cool for a little bit until it reaches that proper temperature. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick that in the microwave and I'll be right back. Okay, and it's reading 107, so we're within that threshold of 100 to 110. So we're gonna put this into our bowl. And then I'm gonna go ahead and just use this same container to melt down 8 tablespoons, so 1 whole stick of butter. Melt this down. Again, I'll be right back. All right, so we have our melted butter in here as well. And we're gonna do a 1/2 cup of sugar. And we're gonna go ahead and whisk this together till that sugar is dissolved. And we're gonna go ahead and sprinkle our yeast on top nice and evenly. And this is 2 1/4 teaspoons yeast. Don't forget that yeast is alive, so if you get a jar of it and open it, make sure that you put it in the refrigerator. It's gonna make it last longer. And if you're having issues with anything rising, it might be that your yeast is bad. So there's 2. And 1/4. If anyone's been following my other videos, you know that I've lost my regular teaspoon for a while, but I finally found it again. So pretty excited about that. All right, and then we're just gonna stir this together. Make sure you get the edges of the bowl. So this mixture is going to feed the yeast. That's why it's important to have that sugar in there. And we're just gonna let this sit in a nice warm spot. I usually put it over my oven. It tends to be the warmest spot in my kitchen. And let it sit for 10 minutes and let it bloom. So it's gonna kind of puff up a little bit on top and maybe look a little funny like algae, but that's what you want it to look like. So our dough has finished blooming. So as you can see, it looks like a blob of algae on top. That's how we know that our yeast has been fed. So this is a good sign. Okay, so from here we are gonna go ahead and add 4 cups of flour, all-purpose flour, and then we're gonna stir it with a wooden spoon until it's just combined. and we're gonna let it sit covered. We're gonna cover it with saran wrap, or you can do a tea towel, put it back into that warm place in your kitchen or your house, and we're gonna let it sit for an hour. I got 2 cups. 3 cups. And 4 cups. And we're going to stir it. So when you're mixing your dough, you're going to scrape along the sides of the bowl, and then you're going to fold it in together in the center. You're going to do this nice and gently until it is just combined. Once our dough is combined, we're going to cover it with saran wrap or a tea towel, and we're going to place it back into the warm spot in our kitchen for an hour for it to rise. We're looking for this to rise double in size, so if you're having an issue with it not rising, you're going to have to start over. While our dough is continuing to rise, we're going to go ahead and mix our filling together. So I have 12 tablespoons of room temperature butter here. And I'm going to add in 3/4 cup brown sugar. And then 2 tablespoons of ground cinnamon. All right, we'll get this mixed together. We have a filling all mixed up. We're gonna set this aside and we're gonna work with our dough again. So bring out a cutting board. So I'm gonna be rolling out my dough, and my kitchen table is not even surface. All right, resist all urges to punch this down. It is not like pizza dough. We are just going to go ahead and sprinkle 1 last cup of flour on top of this. As well as 1 teaspoon baking powder. And 2 teaspoons salt. Okay, and then same as before, taking our wooden spoon, stirring this until it's combined. And then we're going to turn this out on our cutting board. We're going to flour our cutting board first, and we're going to knead it for about 10 minutes. Adding flour as we go, as needed, so it doesn't stick all over your hands and stuff.
A helpful tip to prevent the dough from sticking to your hands is to flour your hands before kneading the dough. You're going to slowly work in flour, and you're going to knead this for 10 minutes. Kneading your dough is going to increase the elasticity of the gluten within the flour. Once you're done kneading, you should be able to press your finger into the dough and have it bounce back to its regular shape.
Now that we've finished kneading our dough, we're gonna go ahead and roll it out to about 1/2 inch thick and then spread our filling across the whole thing.
Don't forget that it's helpful to flour your rolling pin before rolling this out so that it doesn't stick to the dough. If you have an issue with it sticking to the dough, go ahead and flour your rolling pin again. For my cinnamon rolls, I honestly like to double the filling just because I love cinnamon and brown sugar that much.
Now we're gonna go ahead and start rolling our cinnamon rolls. Try to keep the edges as square as possible when doing this. Okay, and now I'm gonna go ahead and cut these down and place them into a well-buttered 9x13 pan. The best way to cut these without smashing them is using a piece of unflavored dental floss or thread. And you're gonna go under your cinnamon roll out to how tall you want it, about 2 inches or so. And you're gonna cross and pull. And that's gonna cut it nicely there for you. And there you have your cinnamon roll. All right, now we have these all in our pan. We can either cover them and let them rise in a warm area for about 45 minutes and then bake them, or we can cover them and put them in the fridge and let them rise overnight. So that is what I'm gonna do. So we'll see you in the morning to bake these off and finish the icing. All right, good morning everybody. So we let our cinnamon rolls rise overnight, so you can see that they've almost doubled in size. And I've already preheated the oven to 350 degrees. And we're gonna throw these on in there for about 25 to 30 minutes or until they're nice and golden brown. And while they're in there, we're gonna go ahead and work on our icing.
So last night I left out 4 ounces of cream cheese to bring it up to room temperature for this morning. I'm gonna go ahead and place this in my mixer and bring it up to about medium-high speed until it's smooth. And then I'm going to add in 2 tablespoons of melted butter and 1 cup of powdered sugar. And you can alternate between these two if you'd like, or just put them in separately altogether. You're gonna go ahead and beat this until it's combined. Once it's combined, you're gonna go ahead and add 4 tablespoons of milk. Go ahead and add this slowly so it doesn't splash up at you. After that, you're going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. You can also change up the flavor of your icing if you'd like. A very common flavor to do is orange extract with cinnamon rolls. I think a fun one to do would be a coffee flavored one. You're just gonna go ahead and beat this until it's smooth, and don't forget to wipe down your paddle and your bowl in between, as that cream cheese likes to stick to the edges of the bowl. Once your icing is smooth, you can spread it on top of your cinnamon rolls about 10 minutes after they've cooled, and they're ready to enjoy.